Recording. Now we are recording. Okay. So we have seen the recycle view. The recycle view is a component that click lists that can be displayed as like a list or kind of like columns. Okay, you can also do that. Okay. So for create the recycle view, what do we need? We need a source of data. In this case, we have used a singleton, that we have seen that a singleton is a design pattern that you only have one instance in your whole application, and everything that you put here can be shared and accessible by any class inside the application. So that's why we have put here, in this case, the contacts, that anywhere we could have access to it. Okay, and you have created here the contacts. Okay, so this is the design part. And in order to be only one, it has a private constructor, so it can be only called inside the application. So it's called here, and no one can recreate it. Okay, and it keeps being alive for the whole project. Okay, so we have here the source of data. The idea for this kind of like second part that we are going to use the same project is to replace the source of data, instead of putting hard-coded data here, to put on SQLite. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about SQLite later, but the idea is to have data set that you could create with tables, and also it's create persistence. So we close the application, start again, and everything is still there. Okay, that's the idea. Okay. Also, for the recycle view, what do we need? We need to know how the items are going to look like. In this case, we have created one list view here. Okay, that has to. Now we have created one layout that has two text view, one for the name, other for the address. Keep it simple. Only one thing that you normally need to take careful about, that's a normal mistake, is the wrap height about the layout to be wrap content, because if you put match parent, each item you have the same size, the same height as the parent, so it's not very good list. Okay, so, and what else do we need? We need an adapter. To do what? To adapt the source. The layout, that's what it's going to look like, and the source of data. What's the content of the list view? So this is done by the adapter, the recycle view adapter. Okay, the recycle view adapter has a view holder. That's a holder for each item, not exactly each item, but each item that's going to appear to the user. Okay, and it's a holder for what? The IDs, the components that the item has. In this case, it's two text views, but you could put like image here. You could put buttons. Okay, some years ago, it was not very good to put buttons. But now we see that a lot of application does it. But for example, Instagram, when you do like unfollow, also TikTok and that kind of stuff. When you follow, you have like lists and you have buttons inside. So we can work with that. And one thing that we have about the recycle view is also it doesn't have a click listener. So we have to create one for the item itself. So we have to create one for the on-click listener, and on long click, that we create one listener for it. Okay, that we have created an interface for it, so we can delegate the treatment of the click to another component. And we have three functions on the recycle view adapter. Is the on create view holder is when you're going to create the view itself that's going to display the items. So in the case, normally, when it has like you can display 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Normally it creates like 7 or 8 or something like that, because just the item that's going to show here. Okay. We can even do something like here. Let's do this just for us to see. Log D. Obsidian part. Dot create view holder, and we have also this function here, onBind view holder. This onBind view holder is when what? You already have the view holder created, and you want to show the content, so you want to customize it, okay? But just for us to see, I'm going to show here the logcat. Oh, I think I start work with the project inside the driver, and driver is kind of like deleting and removing and making merge or something like that. Let me do a build clean, rebuild project. Let's see if that's no. Yeah, kind of. Okay, let me close this. Good thing that I have a backup, so I'll delete this. I open this one here and put on my downloads folder. No problem. Okay, so probably won't have this problem anymore. So downloads, contact app. Just project. Okay. Let me just put the log here. So log D. Here on bind view controller, 2 dots plus position. Okay. If you see here on the logcat, let's put here the cycle. We have seen that we have create for everyone. Why? Because we have a lot of items and all of them are showing on the screen. Okay, but let's change a little bit this recycle item. So the linear layout, the height will be like 100 dps, so it's bigger. No, not 100. Let's put 150. Yeah, I think that will be okay. So we have more items that can fit on the screen. Okay. But let's run again. If it has see here, you see here, it creates until the 6th here. On create, on bind, on create, on bind, on create, on bind. Probably has some mistake there. On create, on bind, on create, on now just on bind. So it's going to probably get the 0, 1, and 2. Okay. So that's why recycle view is much better than the list view because of that. Okay. And now you give me a mistake. So let's see why. Let's take this off. System wise, not close up. Okay. And probably if I add another item, if you see here logcat, it didn't create a new one. Okay. Okay. So with that, so we have these three functions that works on the data: the create, the bind, that's going to glue the two together, and the get items count, that you have the maximum items that's going to be shown on the list. Okay. Normally what Instagram and other application keeps doing, they normally use some component kind of like this, and when you get on the final one, it's shown, it keeps refreshing, increase the size of it. We can see that you make a little refresh and download new picture, that kind of stuff. Okay. Okay, we have seen what needs to use the recycle view. Now they use itself. Okay, we could use by what? We need the find view by ID. We need the adapter also. Okay, that you can create it here, and you can set the adapter. So we need the recycle view and the adapter, and the active that's going to say recycle view, you're going to use the adapter. Then we need the layout manager that's going to say how we are going to display the items. In this case, we are going to use one for Android, is the linear layout manager. Linear layout manager, just put as a list. Okay, is also have the, I think it's grid. Let me new grid layout manager. Grid, it's going to look like a grid. Something kind of like this. Okay, you can also work with that if you want. Okay. Okay. Item decoration, you can put a lot of item decoration. In this case, just a line between the items. Okay. And then you create to set item click, long click, and to add new items. Okay. Every time we change the data set, the content, in this case, we update it here. In this case, we remove one, and in this case, we add a new one. We need to notify the adapter. So the adapter knows the data has changed, so we need also to change the view for the user. Okay? And that's it. Okay? One thing that you probably, if you use, for example, the singleton on the exercise, you are going, instead of adding on the same screen, in the same activity, you are going to add on a different one. Okay? One option that you could do is do what? You have here the on resume. This on resume, when it happens, every time this activity appears, it show the data to the user. Okay? Every time the skin appears, this function is called. So we could put this function here. In my case here, on my example, it doesn't matter. But, for example, if it has changed anywhere inside the whole application, it's going to be updated right before it appears to the user. So it's kind of like a good practice for you to do that. To notify the adapter that maybe the data has changed. Okay? Because even, for example, other activity could be changed. Also, we are going to work with SQLite. We are not going to do this right now, but we could share the resource, the SQLite file, between more than one application. Okay? Also, it's a good practice. Maybe you have receive a call, receive SMS, and something has changed on another application. Okay? So that's a good practice. Okay? And that was it from Wednesday that we have seen. Okay. Now we are going to talk a little bit about the SQLite. Okay. It's kind of like a micro version of SQL. Okay. It's SQL is probably the most popular database manager that we have. Language, okay, is a language for data querying, for receiving data, okay. We don't have also we have a lot of type of languages, not all for programming, okay. Like XML is for markup language, for definitions. This is for queries, okay. Structured query language, and it is kind of like is light, a light version of SQL. Why is a light version of SQL? SQL was made not to be used inside just one application like we are going to use as SQLite, but to be used on a database. For example, I like to use the example as Uber. Uber probably has one database that we need to query there. For example, I open Uber, what's this car around that can pick me up to bring me somewhere? How many time would it take me to get there, to wait for the car and then go to my place? It was probably all this information probably saved somewhere in the database and share about with a lot of users. So SQLite is the language normally that you're going to use to query the data, to get the data back. Okay, so it makes it easier for you, so you can have like a huge amount of data, and you can filter this data. Okay, and SQL is the language for that. For using an application for Android, we don't need to be like a master on SQL. We can use the simpler version, and we can use with Android without knowing a lot about the language itself. Okay. Also, just parentheses about it. We also have other type of databases that's called NoSQL, that normally used for when you don't want a structure that's so fixed as the SQL. You don't have like table and you don't have like the language. Okay, MongoDB is one of the most popular for this one. Okay. On the last day of class on Wednesday, probably going to show a little bit also Firebase. Firebase also use this model here for saving data. Okay, and you have now also new SQL, or they call it also graph data, that has some forms of the language of SQL, but combined with distribution, because SQL doesn't work very well for distribution of data. So this is true for like big data, okay? Because SQL normally doesn't work very well for big data, okay? For having data that distributed, okay? But that being said, so how SQL normally works? We can think of SQL as what? As like tables. For example, we have a table of contacts that has name, address, phone, age, and so on. So and so on. So we have here. And SQL, what does it do for us? Well, let's put just under the sea. But it's not a bikini.
Yeah, bikini bottoms.
Bikini bottoms. I know that was. I don't know how to write bikini bottoms. Probably something like this. What's the age of SpongeBob? I don't know. 12. Oops. Phone. 12. Okay. So SQL keeps, we define like tables, okay, that has a name, and it has columns. And also we allow them to define, for example, name to be, it only accepts strings. And you even can say, oh, accept strings on maximum size like 20 characters, okay? Same for address, for phone. Also, for age, only accepts integers, okay? And you can define all that. And you even can define, oh, we cannot put a new contact without the name. Normally we have that, okay? But normally we also have what? One ID, okay? Why do we have one ID? Name, mark. Probably has a lot of marks, especially in the United States, we have a lot of marks. So name could be duplicated. So ID is something that is a unique identifier. Normally you use that, okay? To keep sure that this line is unique inside the whole table, okay? Normally you use that, okay? Okay. Oh, this is pretty much a table. Why do we use SQLite then? Because with the SQL language, we could select name from contacts where phone equals 7. Something kind of like this. We have so the language that we could filter this table. So in this case, select the name, select just the name from contacts, the table contacts, where phone, the data of phone equals 7. So we're going to search this equals 7. No, this yes, it equals 7. So we're just going to put this one here. Okay? But we could also have that returns more than one. For example, let's see. Neymar, also Brazil, and 30, yes, 34. And we could select name and also the age from contacts where address equals Brazil. Okay, so this second one here is going to select what? Mark and Neymar. And also the age is going to return here the both data. Okay, so we can even select, oh, but what if we want every column? We put the star, yes. We could change this to put the star. Okay. And we could also have, for example, oh, we want to have more data on another table, and we want to address these both tables. We have also these IDs here that makes the table, the item unique. We normally call it primary key. Okay. We could also have on, for example, classes, Android, Python, and we have another name description and also one ID. So this ID 1 and 2. And this has some description that I don't want to, someone type there later on, okay? And you want to say which one of these contexts are making this class, okay? So we could have, for example, here, you only can take one class at a time. So Mark's taking Android, Boing Python, Android Python, and Neymar also Android. Okay, so this, I'm going to use this ID from here to select it. What's the advantage here? Because maybe if I type here Python, maybe I can make mistakes writing down. I could first Python for M, or maybe I could do with all uppercase. All uppercase is different than all lowercase. Okay, also there's a problem. And also I don't have what? The description. So I need to put description for everyone, so I have replicated data. Okay, so that's why normally you use SQL to work our data. Okay, in our case here, we are going to use the, how about that? Sorry about that. We are going to use the version from Android, okay, to help us. Okay, Android has two libraries that we can work with SQLite. Okay, we have the SQLite DB manager that you need to deal with the language. You say, oh, run this command of SQL to do that, and you return and get it back. And you also have the room. Okay, for the room, that's how they call it. Okay. The idea of the room is what? They have, they call it, they have the SQL, that normal SQLite, that's what? Just a file. Okay? You put all the information inside the file in SQLite. In the DB management system like MySQL or Microsoft Server and Oracle database, normally it's more complicated than that. Okay, and it has like DAOs. DAO is also design patterns. It's called data access objects. Okay, and we have entities. Entity is like ORM, object related map, relation map. Why is that? When we are programming, what we are used to? We are used to work with classes, objects, and that stuff. We are not used to deal with tables and that requirements. So the idea here is what? We are working on Android with classes, and the DAO is going to translate this to SQL language. So we don't need to deal with all the requirements, all the commands of SQL. So it's make it easier for us. Okay. So in order to use this on Android, the library for room, it's not part of the basic project of Android. So we need to include it. Okay. So how we include it? We are going to include here on the build Gradle. Okay. The module build Gradle. We have two build Gradle, one for the project, one for the module. Okay. On the module, we have here dependencies. Every library that your project needs. This room comes with Jetpack, okay? One thing that Android did, for example, when they have recycle view, list view, and everything. Every time you want to change, for example, the recycle view, they want, instead of having a white background, they decide they want to have a gray. Since it was part of the Android library, he needs to get a proof for everyone on the Android consortium. We have Android consortium, like every major decision on Android is not just Google that decides. Normally, Samsung have a voice on that, LG, all the major companies now have. So if you need to change something, it will get a lot of trouble and a lot of things that need to be done. So they decided to create another package called Jetpack that they were going to keep all the innovations here. They read a app with the basic of Android and decide all the new stuff will be on the Jetpack. Everything that you need going to be easier, okay? So we need to include here our room, okay? We can define here the room version. In this case, I'm going to choose 2.4.1. And then we are going to import the implementation Android X dot room. We could put here 4 point. We could put, for example, dollar room version. Okay, so if we need to change it, we just change in one place because we need two implementations. Also, we need the annotation processor. Android X dot room compiler room version. Okay, it's just two libraries that we need. Since we are changing the Gradle has all the libraries that needs to build a project. Okay, so every time I make a change, it says here to sync now. Why is that? When it reads file check, do we have this app compact installed here for this application? Do we have the material? It keeps checking all the dependencies that need to run the project. That's why I can put it on a zip file and you can open on a machine because it's going to download everything that needs to run it. Okay. So now when I press here, sync now, it's going to build, download, and everything else. Okay. In my case, it was kind of like fast because I already had room on my machine. Okay, but probably you're going to take a little bit more time, not a lot, just like the project because it's not a big library. Okay. Okay. So now we need to change a couple of things in order to, instead of having everything hard-coded, choose the singleton. Okay. So how we are going to do that? First, as I said, now the class that holds the content is going to be an entity. So we're going to put here at entity. What is at entity? What does it mean? Okay, this was introduced at I think version 8 of Java. It's called annotation. It annotates that this class is going to be on one entity. So when the preprocessor runs it, it knows, oh, this is the entity. So you do not need to look anywhere else. This class is going to say how my table is going to look like. Okay. Also, I'm going to, just to keep it more simple, okay, we could also have the constructors and gets and setters, okay, just for us to keep simple, okay, I'm going to just put here public string name, public string address, and public string phone. Okay, why do I didn't put anything on the same string? Because this is a class, and now this is going to be translated to what? To a table. So probably going to have a table there that has like contacts, that has name, address, and phone. Okay, so we're probably going to have that. Okay. So I'm going to say what will be the name of my column. So I'm going to put here also another notation for column info, saying that this name will have a column. Okay. And with name equals name. Also going to do the same thing for all the others. So this will be phone and this will be address. Okay. Also, if I don't want one of my data here, I don't want to be kept on the table. Maybe there's some applications that you need that. You have this ignore also, okay? That you're not going to be put on the data itself, okay? But one thing that we said about it, we also need one ID, one thing to identify as unique. Okay? We could put name as unique, but I don't think it's very good because we can have repeated name. If maybe like username or something like that, maybe okay, but for name itself, not good. So we're going to have a primary key. This one that's going to have to be unique. Okay? In this case, we are going to be public int with the unique identifier. Normally, with what it means. Okay? We could, like for example, every time we create a new one, say, we need to create a new number for that. But you could also set the auto-generate to true. So when you create the first contact, probably is 1, the second, 2, 3, 4. So it keeps regenerate automatically for us. So you don't need to manage what this new OID is going to be like, okay? So it's easier for us. So we have this entity. Now we need the DAO, the database access. That's just an interface that we're going to list all the iterations that we're going to make on the table itself, on the data. Every functionality that we need. So I'm going to create a new Java class. It's going to be interface. Call it contact DAO. Okay. And we're going to say this is going to be a DAO. So another notation for that. Okay, now we need to put the functionalities that you want. Okay, normally when we interact with data that we're going to put, there are 4 operations that we normally do with data. We call it CRUD. Okay, create, retrieve, update, and delete. So we want to create new data. We want to retrieve the data that's already saved. We want to be able to update a date, change the things, like for example, name Mark will be Mark Joselli. And also to delete it or not, okay? It's the basic the basic verbs for interact with data. Okay. So the first is to create data. The common normal in SQL is to insert. So it uses the same verb insert as a notation. Now, when we want to insert, we are going to void insert, and you want to insert what? A contact. Okay. But maybe you want to insert also a lot of contacts. So we put these 3 dots. The 3 dots, I think, was introduction in Java 9. I don't recall very well. What's the idea? It can accept this as one contact, or maybe a list of contacts, an array of contacts. Okay, these 3 dots, that's what it means. Okay, so I'm going to change it instead of insert all. But it doesn't matter. You can call whatever you like. You just put this annotation here, insert, and everything for inserting new data on the SQL is done for us. We don't need to implement it. Okay. For retrieving. Okay, retrieving, create, retrieve. We have it here. Query. Okay. In this case, we need to put the language that the selection that we want. Okay. So in this case, select everything from contact, and then what do we expect to return? To return a list of contacts. Get all. We could also, for example, need to find a specific one. Select from contact where name like so it's going to be like select everything from contact where the name equals 2 dots name. 2 dots mean to what? Look into the parameter here that has the name. Okay? With limit 1. So you only get the first name it finds with this name. Since we can have duplicates, you just find the first one. Could also have for IDs also.
Sir, what if we don't put the limit 1? What will it return?
If we don't put, for example, just let me put forever. If we don't put 1, you're probably going to, it can fail because what? Here returns more than 1. So it should return array, not just one contact. So we should change here to okay. This one you don't need to limit because what? With the is unique. So you only will find every time you only find 1. Okay. Okay. So create, retrieve. So you have two forms of retrieving here, three forms, right? We're just going to use this one, but we could use another one. Okay. Now update. So we need to change some information. Okay. So update. So void update. So we could also all and use the same principle as here in search. If you want to update a list, you can. If you want to update just one, you can also. So just for example, you change the name, you change the address, something like that. You don't want to create a new one, to pick up one, change the value, and put it back on the table with the new value. And the last one, delete, for removing. So delete, void delete, contact, okay, and that's the DAO. Okay, a lot of other technology use the same principle. If you're going to later on, you look into developing backends for application, normally you have some form of DAOs, you have some form of ORM, object related map, to work that. Okay, so now we need another class, okay, for app database. This app database is going to deal with what? With the actual creation or retrieving of the database itself. It's going to be a singleton also, okay? So here we're going to define that this is going to be our database, okay? Where we're going to define the entities that we're going to use. Entities. In your case, we are going to use the contact class. So this contact will be a skeleton for us to create the contact, okay? Oh, what if we have more than one? We could put also here. In this case, it doesn't make sense that I have two of the same, right? But we could have more than one, okay? We could have, for example, contact and classes, like we did there, or courses that we put there. And also, normally we have a version. Why do we have a version? This is something that's on the application of the user. Normally, when we deliver application to the store, we think that's perfect and that we are not going to change. But later on, we end up changing things. We upgrading, make it better, think it through. Maybe the user use in another way that we think about it. And maybe, for example, we decide that name, address, and phone is not good enough for us. We need also an age. Or maybe other fields. So we need to know the version of the database when, for example, we have here version 1 that doesn't have age and 2 has age. So we can build migration for this. Because maybe it's just add a new field, but maybe it's separate. For example, we could, name will be first and last name. And we decide that we pick up the first one, put as name, and the other one. So we need a migration guide, something for that, okay? To do that automatically for us, okay? This class is going to be abstract, and it's going to extend the room database. Why you're not putting here room database? Oh, I think I forgot one. I forgot one dependency here. Room runtime, but did I put here? Oh, I put the compiler. Let me see here on my. Yeah. Oh, let's import this one. So this automatically put for me. Where is this? Oh, here, room time. Okay, I'm just going to put here so I make the. It'll be the same pattern here. Okay. I need to be with 2 square 2. Okay. Okay. Now no more mistakes. Okay. So we're going to have also. It's still going to be a singleton. Okay. So we're going to have a private static app database instance. And also going to have a public abstract contact DAO. And you're going to have the get instance. Okay? But in this case, you're going to have a little bit different that we had before. Okay? It's not going to be just static. It's also going to be synchronized. Why is that? Android application or what? Multi-threaded. What does it mean? We can be, for example, showing something on the screen, processing something, and also we are collecting data from the internet, and while that we are also saving a file to the system. Always done on threads, okay? Parallel to one another. So, one or more tasks can call the same function. And if it's not synchronized, you could end up creating 2 databases. That's why we are keeping it synchronized, okay? Since we are going to be creating, in this case, a file, we are going to open file and close files, even though not yourselves, but the room, we need access to the context, so we can have access to the file system. So we're going to check if instance equals null, we are going to say instance receives room, oops, not this, room dot database builder with context dot get application context. Then we're going to pass the class of room database is what? This one that we are creating, app database dot class. Then the name of the database, so could be app database db dot build. Okay, so this is going to pass a database builder. So is similar as we saw on the dialog. We have a builder for us that we configure, So we are not building the instance ourselves. We are letting room build for us. We are passing to the context, so we can create the file because it's going to be a file saved on the system. Then we say, what's the pattern that we are going to use for keeping the database? In this case is our AP database here, that we use here. And then the name, oh, not that, yes. This doesn't matter, okay, but better for us to have a better name, okay?
Sir, why is abstract underline red?
Because, let's see here, contact adapter, contact the, it's an interface, yes, public interface, public has been struct. Why it's contact down. Oh. There we go. Why we're making this abstract? Okay, this two. Because you're not implemented here. We say the name of the class that we're going to use, and we are letting the database builder create everything for us. So in this case, the contact down. We create here the interface, here, and they keep, you check that, insert. Oh, so I need to implement everything so I'll be able to insert things on my table. So for every function here, is going to create everything for us. So you don't need to deal about the details of that, okay? If not, you need to create every one of these functions by yourselves. And it's a lot more trouble than just this, okay? I know it's kind of like a lot of code, but it could be worse, okay? One thing else, we need to build, but also I'm going to put allow main thread queries, okay? Why is that? This is dealing with what? Opening a database that we're going to put new data, new data, new data. This could end up being huge. It will take a lot of time. Normally, it's not good practice for us to do that on the main query. So we needed to create another thread for that to be loaded, okay? But since our application is going to be simple, we can do on the main thread. It's no trouble at all, okay? So, and now we just need to adapt our application to use this singleton here, okay? So, on the singleton that we used to have on array list of contacts, I'm going to remove all these contacts here and going to change a little bit, okay? The contacts now, instead of having array list, I'm going to put as a list, okay? Also, I'm going to have the contacts here because I'm going to need it for the DAO, the app database, and also here the contact DAO. Okay. So now I'm going to create a function here, public void set contacts. Oops. Set contacts. They are going to pass the contacts. First, I'm going to this dot test equal context, and then I'm going to say contact down, get it from the app database, get the instance, passing the context, and I'm going to get the contact down. Okay, now I have the interaction with the database created. Now I can, for example, populate my list. So I'm going to contacts receives the contact down dot get all. And if you see here the contact down, we have access to all the functions that we created there. Okay, insert, update all, delete. Okay. Okay. Now what we are going to need to do also, we are not going to interact directly with this list, right? We are going to interact with the DAO. So we're going to add. We're not going to add on this list. We're going to add on the DAO. So we add on the table of SQLite. So we need to create function for that. Okay. So public void add contact. So pass here a contact. We will call the contact DAO dot insert contact, and then an item was inserted, right? We need to update a list of contacts. So we're going also to put this line here. Also, we may need to update. So we're going to update contact. Okay, the same principle. We update and we update. And also public void delete contact DAO dot delete this contact, and then contact get out. Also, one good practice, do what? To have a function public list contact get contacts return contacts, and have this here as private. Why is that? So we don't have access directly, so people can add or remove items from the list itself. You just interact with the SQL. Okay. So now our application is kind of like what? We have the model, will be the singleton, that gets the data to the SQL. And we have here the adapter, for example, that gets and pass it to the view. Okay, so we have the data actually in three places. Okay, one for the view that shows to the user, one on the model that we can interact with it, and on one SQL that keeps on the file system. Okay, for us. Okay, now we need to adapt our code. Okay, so where we use this list here, we are going to use on the adapter. You can see here we have here. So now it's going to change to get contacts. Okay, and also instead of get name, we are going to pick up directly the name and address. Okay, and also here on the contacts instead we are going to get contacts. Okay, so that's it for the adapt. Okay, and also on the activity. So if you see here, we have here errors. Okay, so now when the item was clicked, we are going to update it with this clicked, right? So I'm going to change here to use the method instead of the, and here to access the property. And then now what we need to do? We cannot just change it here. If we change it here, it's going to work, okay? It's going to change for us on the screen. But if we close the application and open again, it will not change on the file. So we need to notify not only the adapter, but notify the SQL. How we do that? We do with the singleton. Oops. Singleton dot get instance dot update contact with DC. Okay, so you allow SQL to notify as well. And on long click, we're going to remove it. So we are going to change it here to delete contact. But see here, we are deleting by position. So I think the best for us is to change here the singleton also to delete by position. Okay, so int contact position, we are going to do that. Contacts get contact position, contact C, and then delete C. Okay. So we have the same, and we could pass here the position. Okay. And now just one more thing. On the add, now we need to create contact C equals new contact C dot name equals minion C dot address equals XR and C dot phone equals we see that we don't put the ID because we are going to let the SQL deal with the ID. It's going to manage for us. So add now contact, and we're going to pass here C. So it's better to put on just one. And now notify item was inserted with the get context size. Okay, and I think that's it. Let's see if it works or not. So probably you have one error here, I don't know where. So let's run again. Let's see. On contact adapter 77, get context. Because it's null. Oh, I know why. I forgot one thing. I need to what? To on the singleton. I have created here set contacts, so I can create my contact DAO, but I have not done that. Okay, when do I do that? On main activity, just after set content view, I'm going to do that. Singleton dot get instance dot set contacts main activity dot this. Okay, let's see now if it works. Now we see we have like 5 minions, and I can add a new one. It's very hard with, let's do something else just for us to see the different, let's do like int random dot, I forgot, new random. Okay, plus oh no. Okay, so I'm going to put just a number. So we add a new one, 112. Let's leave the other ones. So here's seen. And if you close it and run again, and you still have all of those saved, right? 974. Yeah. Oh, this is just one application. Okay. Okay, questions about the SQL? So now the idea is what? To complement the exercise of the grocery list. So we read on the morning, you put the spinner, so you can select the unit of kilograms, okay? And you also put on the main screen that you have. If unit you cannot put, if you want, if you can put unit, or you can put kilograms, so you put both information on the main screen. And now I want to save this to SQLite, okay? So now the data is persistent. So the user put their process, when you get back, it open with the same thing that he left before. Okay?
So, could you go back to the delete function once in singleton?
Yes. But for that, I want to talk a little bit about the architecture, okay, that we are going to use, okay? But let me, after you copy that, just a couple minutes just for me to pick up some water, and then we'll talk about the architecture. It's just about more 15 minutes, then we're going to give you the break, and then the rest of the class will be for doing the exercise, okay?
देखो उस टाइम सुना तो मैंने बात किया था तो नजरुद्दीन में वो लोग वीज़ा नहीं लेते हैं।
वो क्या होता है?
जो अपना
गारंटर होता है वो
वीज़ा नहीं लेते हैं, ठीक है? तो मैं आपको बता दूँ, गारंटी भी लेते हैं जिसका सालाना आपको सब्सक्रिप्शन भरना पड़ता है करीब 150 की 120 की।
तो ये इसने कैसे रूम लिया फिर गारंटर के बिना?
गारंटर शायद गारंटी भी लिया होगा
अलग से
150
यूरो।
नहीं उसका नहीं बोला, मैं तो
नहीं, मैं बता दिया अगर आप लोग हैं तो इन केस, क्योंकि मैंने बात किया था हम लोग
मैं कोई ऐसा ट्राई करूंगा जो यहीं पे रह रहा है, उसके साथ मैं शेयर कर लूंगा। ऐसे मेरे को एक कैफ वैफ कर झमेला उतना ही नहीं।
तो मैंने सुना है कि इसलिए मैं बोल दिया आपको कि अगर लेजर में अप्लाई करूंगा तो गारंटी करना वो
कैफ के मैंने करना ही नहीं उससे किसको ये करेगा ना।
अरे पता है हम लोग कैफ कितना मिल रहा है स्ट्रासबर्ग में? 281।
तो रेंट कितना हो गया?
रेंट अभी हम लोग जिसमें अप्लाई अभी तो फिलहाल एयरबीएनबी लिया हुआ है, अभी देख रहे हो और कोई सस्ता मिला तो उसमें शिफ्ट करेंगे उसको।
तो एयरबीएनबी में कितना कैफ मिलता है?
एयरबीएनबी नहीं मिलता है तो हम लोग दूसरा रेसिडेंस देख रहे हैं, अगर उसमें मिल गया तो उसमें कैफ मिलेगा, उसमें सब मिला के हम लोग को कितना पड़ रहा है? नहीं, इट डिपेंड्स ऑन द लोकेशन एंड द रेंट। जैसे हम लोग का वो 600 यूरो था, 680 की 681 यूरो था
रेंट। मेरी दीदी के एक सुंदर वो पहले अपार्टमेंट में।
Let's do the opposite, since two of you already left. Let's take the break, and then we'll talk about the architecture, okay? 15-minute break, okay? So 40 more left, okay?
So there are a few errors in getting the code. Let's see.
Oh, let me just stop the video until you get a very huge file size.